Hello, Chemistry 152 students. Welcome to week 2 of our 8 weeks together. This week, we will be looking at chapter 2, chapter 5, and chapter 11. So, as you are going through your work, as I mentioned in my initial intro video, what you should really be doing is watching the videos, then doing the OWL homework, and then taking the quiz for each chapter. Okay, make sure you've watched the videos. Make sure you are prepared to take the quiz. These quizzes are not designed for you to ignore the chapters and then suddenly try to look everything up while you are taking the quiz. I do allow you to use your notes on the quizzes, but you need to be prepared for them. I had a large number of students email me that they were not able to submit their work with the chapter 3 quiz in time. I only accept work when it's attached to the quiz itself. I don't take it via Canvas message or via email. When I looked at the quiz logs for the vast majority of students who asked me, can I submit my work through email because I ran out of time, I noticed that students were taking 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes to do the very first problem on the chapter 3 quiz. The very first problem on that quiz was punch a couple calculations into your calculator and then report them to the number of significant figures. There was no word problem. There was nothing tricky. It was simply plug into your calculator, report the answer. That was supposed to be about a 2-minute question. Okay. The next question also took students several minutes to do, which was look at these numbers and choose from a drop-down list how many significant figures there were. Okay. That quiz, questions 1 through 4, would have been a 15-minute quiz if we had been in person. I allotted 25 minutes for it so you would have time to take a picture of your work, email it to yourself, and then upload it to the quiz. So I put in an extra 10 minutes that I would not have given for an in-person quiz, so you would have time to do that. Looking at these quiz logs, what that's telling me is that students are not watching the lecture videos prior to taking the quizzes. That what those students are doing is they are waiting, taking the quiz, and then trying to look the material up as they're taking the quiz. I also corroborated this by looking at the time spent in the class. So I can go into Canvas and I can see when the last time you logged on was, and I can see how long you've spent engaging with the course in Canvas. All right. You're supposed to be spending hours each week engaging with the course just on Canvas watching the lecture videos. There were a number of students where when I checked those numbers, they had engaged in the course less than 2 hours for the entire week last week. Okay, there is way more than 2 hours worth of lecture material there. Okay, less than 2 hours of engagement tells me that Canvas was opened, the syllabus was looked at, the syllabus quiz was taken, and the first couple quizzes were taken, and that's it. Okay, you guys have to be spending time on this class. I know a number of you are. I've seen some really good numbers in Canvas with lots of engagement time. So I know this is not everybody. So this message is, it's, intended for students that are not engaging with the course long enough. You have to be watching those lecture videos. All right, this is an online course. It is asynchronous. Those videos are the time you would have been spending in the lecture hall listening to me live in-person lecture. They are not optional. They are a required portion of this course. You must be watching the lecture videos. Okay, if you don't understand them, I am happy to answer questions. Please email me. I've had several good emails come through asking me about rounding or conversion factors or things like that. Those are good. Keep those up. Definitely ask when you're not understanding. When you are getting a slightly different answer than I am than the lecture videos, most likely it's usually due to rounding. There's versions of the conversion factors that go out a zillion decimal places. There's versions of conversion factors that get rounded off after 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places. And so if you are getting a very slightly different answer than I am, it's most likely due to rounding, or that you grabbed a conversion factor that went out more than or less than the number of decimal places I used when I wrote the example problem. On the tests and quizzes, I do build in a couple percentage margin of error into the answer to account for those rounding differences. So don't fret if you're ever so slightly off from what I'm getting. I do account for that when you take your tests and quizzes, and I have that built into the system. So And then one last reminder, please email me at my SDCCD email address that I put in the first announcement, and I'll put it in this week's announcement as well. Again, technically, yes, you can email me if I correspond email address, but it's so much easier for me to keep track of my two different student populations, my Grossmont students for the summer and my city students for the summer. If each student population is emailing me at the email associated with that school, so then I don't get my students mixed up, because I am teaching two 48-person lecture classes this summer, this class at City College and an Introduction to Scientific Thought class at Grossmont College. So yeah, please keep using my SCCCD email address. I hope everybody has a great week, and I hope you enjoy what we're learning in chapters, especially chapters 5 and 11. That goes into some of the stuff about how we started understanding and figuring out what was going on with an atom, and some early experiments that were done to understand, you know, how we figured out that there's a nucleus, and that the nucleus contains protons and neutrons, and that we have electrons that are orbiting. Well, they don't really orbit, but we talk about them in terms of orbits to help understand where they are in relation to the nucleus. But as you'll find out, the classic picture where it looks like, you know, electrons are moving around on orbits like planets, we like that model because it's a good picture to understand energy levels. But in reality, electrons kind of go bounce, 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 bounce. Electrons behave more like my 2-year-old in a bounce house than they do planets around the sun. So have a great week. And again, keep using my City College email address, and don't hesitate to email me if you have questions. Oh, one other thing too. I did go in a little bit ago and I removed the requirement that you have to submit the quiz before you can move on to the next module. You still have to watch the lecture videos and mark as done before the next module will open up to you. But now the next module will open up after you watch the last lecture videos. And then you can take the quiz. So if you do want to watch all the lectures for a week and then take the quizzes, you're able to do that now. I apologize for those of you that got stressed out that you had to do the quiz before you moved on to the next module. I had meant to set it up without the quiz as a requirement prior to summer starting, but I have fixed that now. And so as soon as you finish the lecture videos for a module, the next module will open, and then you can go back and take the quiz. All right, I think that's all I have to say. So have a great week, and I will communicate with you over message or email, or I will come to you again next week with another weekly announcement.